Hi there. Little energy update for the day. I've been feeling profoundly sensitive, like profoundly vulnerable. Very weird how all of the days, even the days in July that have fallen in the Lionsgate, have like their own climate. It's crazy. It's like I can be in the same exact, including my own house, same exact environment, same exact setting or physical environment, and have it feel and transform on a day-to-day basis like it's an entirely different space, just based on the fluctuations in the energy. That's been what's happening every single day, and along the lines of some of the stuff that I've been talking about for the past few days, with growth and expansion, and like big periods of expansion being followed up by these liminal spaces of acclimation, or like time for us to sort of let our minds and our bodies catch up to what was experienced in the spiritual planes. It's sort of, I know because of my personal history that for me, it's like what appears more like mania, the spiritual expansion. It's so important to ground. And I know that I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling because I've been working a lot, or so it seems, or so it feels, and not doing, as much grounding, not getting outside as much, addressing some of the weird shakeups that have been happening for me in Mercury retrograde. Like, I think I mentioned this in a video. I had my car worked on, but immediately more issues like cropped up, and then the next people I take it to are saying that I didn't even need to have done what the first people did, and that they seemed to kind of overcharge me for something that wasn't even important, which drives me freaking insane, because I hate the idea that I'm ever taken advantage of for being trusting, but it does happen. And obviously car repairs are costly, and I'm about to go on like a 1,200-mile voyage, just me and the dog. And I'll be on the move starting on Saturday for like a week. So that, in anticipation, is also taking a lot of my energy, because I like to live in the moment. I like to be incredibly present to what's happening, so that I can be mindful of not attaching any, of what's going on. Only in the present moment can we truly observe our quote-unquote summoning point. And I like to be aware of what I'm summoning or manifesting, and what might be still stored inside of me in the way of things from former traumas or experiences that I haven't cleared out. It's only in the present moment that we can watch ourselves enact baggage that we're still holding within us unresolved. If you see the pattern, then you can start to figure out what the root of it is and release it. And it's such an ongoing process, and I've got things that I'm still working on clearing out. And so being in the wake of this more peak Lionsgate energy, being spread a little bit thinner, just logistically over the affairs of my life than I have in a while, is draining. I'm so tired, so incredibly tired, and feeling just feeling certain things that I haven't felt in a very long time. I haven't felt apathetic or tired about my life in years. And I think that's strange, because it's coming on the tails of feeling insanely divinely illuminated. This is where, if I talk too candidly to a non-spiritual practitioner in the psychiatric field, they'll be like, sounds like you're experiencing rapid cycling bipolar. Yeah, it does. It sounds a lot like that, but I'm not. Perhaps I am on paper, right? But we know better than that, because we know that those systems are not necessarily completely holistically understanding what the human experience even is. So it's just interesting, because I've been feeling so incredibly illuminated, and I wouldn't consider any part of where I'm at right now to be a crash, but it's this got a vision of an empty paper bag, and it had this special lunch that I never had paper bag lunches, so I don't know where this is coming from. It's all that's in there is wrappers and garbage, which is sort of sad, and that's not true, right? It's just that I ate the lunch. I ate it. there was food in there, and I opened everything up, which is like the goodies. The reason why I'm saying this is because this could be a transferable message that helps somebody. That's the reason why I ever share anything on this YouTube channel. Opened up all this stuff, consumed it. Why do we consume food? To nourish ourselves, to give us energy. That was sort of like a lot of the blessings or the nuggets. I very, very, very effortlessly just came across beautiful divine unfoldings that were like, you know, perfectly timed for me. All of our realizations, whether or not we think that they happened to us too soon or too late, or if we do perceive them as right on time, they all are divinely timed. It's only ever our ego or our perception of how we think things should be that isn't able to accept the timing of our lives, you know, for better or for worse. There's really only just growth and expansion outside of the duality of better or worse. And I thought that they were so divinely timed, so beautiful, these like nuggets of expansion unfurling themselves for me for the past 2 weeks. And now I'm just like sitting at the mechanic and it's like doesn't feel like how I want to feel, but it's okay. And there's something just like incredibly, I don't know, humbling about the patience of everything, again, just on repeat, right? Like, I think that it's easy, and I've talked about this now that I think about it, I've talked about this in a video, to have these spurts or these like blooms of spiritual expansion in whatever way that presents itself to you. And just as a recap for anybody who did not watch any of the videos that I've been posting, I had this like very amazing vision, well, 2 that I'll share. It was the meeting of my Lyran oversoul, so like a simultaneous self or incarnation in a different timeline who is like a past incarnation, but like sort of a cosmic avatar that just exists in the non-physical realms, who is an overlighting guide, like a keystone. That's it, that was the word, keystone to my oversoul, are the simultaneous selves that my soul is got going on. And then the other one was that biblically accurate angel seraphim vision of a massive, like a magnification of my personal energies existing without confines in outer space and becoming infinitely complicated and complex, just like creation and life itself, you know, growing and evolving. So I guess I should put my headlights on. Yeah, for anybody who's feeling a little tired or blank or empty, there's always very, very small, immediate ways to continue to fill up your cup. And contrast is really what helps us refine our methods of taking care of ourselves. So I'm having to set some pretty firm boundaries with the people in my life recently. And no matter how, I'm not saying I'm always the most tactful person, but no matter how gracefully we do set boundaries, a boundary's a boundary, and the people who don't like it or didn't, you know, expect you to have it might poke at it a little bit and be like, are you sure? Does this move? It's like, no, it doesn't. And if you poke it, I will reestablish it. That's just how it has to be. But back to like the small doses of filling the cup back up. I don't like feeling drained. I don't like feeling empty. I do a lot to make sure that I don't get to this point, but it's also coinciding with my very natural, very in sync menstrual cycle that I cherish. I love it because it's okay for me to feel like depleted and empty and ornery during this time. I wouldn't expect any less. And what's interesting is that my period's been migrating to the full moon. It's been taking its time, but I'm probably gonna get it on the full moon, which I love. I hope I do. If I don't, it doesn't make me any less magical, but there's something about this cycle in particular, this lunar cycle, or as Paul White Gold Eagle says, this wave spell, 2-week increments from the new moon to the full moon, according to the Mayan Zolkin calendar. These 14 or 13-day wave spells, rather. If you don't know about that, look into that. That's cool, especially as a female who has a period. It's interesting to see how our collective cycles really do follow with a woman's menstrual cycle. So anyway, I see this as more of a one of these types of plateau weeks. One of these plateau weeks excuse me, in which we can take a little bit of time to not like deny. Like I'm always, it's always easier said than done for me. When I'm in these states, I don't like to hear even my own advice, but it doesn't make it any less true. And specifically, the advice would be like, even these points in time, you have to accept. And when you're not on that like more like energized, inspired opening, like the front leading edge of your own opening, you're more so like in the middle, right? You're like, oh, these, I already ate the sandwich and the other thing, the cheese stick. I'm seeing a bunch of wrappers for things that I don't even like. I don't even eat that stuff, but whatever. You still have to dispose of the trash, right? You still have to clean up after yourself. So there's something in the energy that's like that, like asking us to take acceptance. And even if we can't see with the same crystal clarity that we might have in the peak Lion's Gate energies. For example, I'm almost having like this amnesia around the inundation as well. Like I've been taking a lot of time to journal out what it is that I've been going through, which is important because I know that it's too much for my mind to hold. And so even looking back at my journals, I'm like, damn, I wrote that last week. Like that's intense. That's a lot. But that's good. Like it's, you know, I think forgetfulness can be a sign that you are, well, it could be a sign that you're not engrossed in the moment enough, or it could be a sign that you are, so that you're allowing yourself to have this ongoing amnesia and you're always arriving in the next moment, to be open to it and do what it is that is needed of you. But I continue to just not do anything these days in the evening. All I can bear to do, all I can get myself to do is sleep, and I need that sleep, and I'm sleeping solidly. It's not like I'm like, you know, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people get in bed if they're avoiding stuff, or like they're just like in a, you know, a depressed state and they don't have that energy. And it's like, I'm pretty vital. I've been trying really hard to take very good care of myself because everything I do is intuitively guided. Even when I wasn't taking as good of care of myself, that was still somewhat intuitively guided. I just hadn't reached the point where my intuition, where my vibration was high enough to connect to a higher will. It's the interesting thing about being human. I firmly believe that if you don't want to do something, you shouldn't do it. I think that you are given the way that you feel about everything as your own compass, and it's only up to you to kind of peel through that and adjust what it is you like and want and what it is you don't like and don't want. And then some of our biggest learning is letting other people do that, even though their process looks totally different than ours. And another thing I'll share before I go is that it's interesting to watch myself change like rapidly, like a lot, and be really open to that change and want that change and be acknowledging that change on a personal level, but not really talking to the people that I hold close in my life in detail about the changes, because it's so personal. And you know, resonating out of alignment with people, but how it looks at the surface, even though I've undergone some pretty noticeable physical changes, I don't think people notice or see that I'm in a much different place, because how do you recognize that? And so I've been making it a point to just not need to be known on any level, which is so ironic because of what I do here on YouTube. But, you know, just like day in, day out, not needing to be known by any other presence and consciousness other than myself, because we all are of the same awareness. We all are of, you know, a black womb of nothing, having an awareness or the ability to be inside our quiet mind and look upon our situations. That's equal to every human. We all have that. That's the same consciousness that gives us, you know, law of one understanding. So I'm just trying to really remember that and take out like all of the illusion around really the dictations of the ego and what motivates me from the point and the place of wanting to have something riddled out better than I do. It's interesting to get wiser and know less. I think there's something to that. Yeah, another thing is that there's just an incredible amount of what people call ascension symptoms with the heightened energy. A lot of different changes in the light, in the sun, and I don't actually know how noticeable it is for other people who haven't acknowledged clairvoyance. Maybe people are clairvoyant, but it's like new, or who knows. I don't know how noticeable it is, but I'm seeing tons of differences in the sun and the light, and the way that I see energy in air. Just like plain air, empty space. I see tons of moving energy around people's bodies, and colors and waves. It's gotten so extreme that I have to check and make sure that what I'm looking at isn't physically there. I think most of the time that I can tell when something's non-physical, but past couple weeks, it's like, is that like a bird? Like, did something actually move past me? No, it's just a strong shift in the energy that I'm seeing with my physical eyes. And it didn't used to be like that. Sir, I would rethink that. Thank you. And there must be a game downtown, because all these cars can safely get to where they're going. Yeah, so strangeness in the head. I wouldn't call it a dizziness. It's as if my head has nausea. It's this feeling of being almost disembodied because of this high vibrational feeling. And a couple months ago, when all of the solar flares began ramping up, I was calling it this feeling of feeling like I'm being microwaved or something. And it's like that, but it's a much higher feeling now. I was also talking at one point about feeling like I was getting good, or we as a collective, or maybe people out there who listen to my videos are feeling like we're getting better at acclimating and assimilating to these shifts in energy. But there's something sort of precious and amazing about not getting good at it and still being like, floored, and being reminded that it's not to create mastery where we feel comfortable, because the comfort zone is where the growth goes to die. And it's important to not judge the sensations. Like, I'm like, I don't feel as good as I want. I don't feel like I can get out and go running through the woods, I want to put my face in the stream. I want, and it's like, that's maybe not what today is for. That's maybe not what my body needs. Maybe my body needs to be horizontal in a dark room with the lights off, and breathe, deeply through my diaphragm, and think about my spine, and not think about anything at all, actually. Just chill the fuck out for a little bit. What you're guided to do, even if it's repeated days of rest or repeated days of activity, again, it's all in divine alignment. And I think it can be tricky, because sometimes we excuse ourselves. I think about little treats. I need a little treat. I work so hard, I need a little treat. But you can't just spend all your money on little treats. It doesn't work like that. It's all about balance and honesty and integrity. And it's integrity means, for me, I feel so cheesy so much of the time, because it just makes me think of a slogan on a middle school poster, a thing in an elementary school classroom. Or the core values of a company who say they're going to uphold them, but come to find out nobody actually even cares. And it's does anybody even know what that word means? It's all about you and yourself. Integrity, in my opinion, is not about anybody else. It's what do you do when no one's watching? That's not about if somebody's watching or not. It's not about how your actions impact others. Yeah, it is, but I would say I'm seeing a bulleted list of 1 and then 1A and 1B. That's 5C, okay? How your actions impact others. It's really about how you feel on a day-to-day basis, because even if we, quote unquote, get away with something or do something that's not in aligned integrity, we might be doesn't matter, but we do feel that, because the energy isn't a clean, straight arrow, if you want to put it like that. It's convoluted, and it's something that would feel comfortable for us to do and engage with if we're operating off of, some type of convolution from something that we haven't released, and it's all connected. But I think that's interesting to think about, that integrity it's you in a vacuum. And what is that saying? Drop in the bucket. Does that mean that it doesn't matter? Yeah, somebody would be talking about an expense that's a drop in the bucket. That would mean that it doesn't really have an impact on the whole. But I think that it's important to think about everything having meaning, even these little actions that we don't see as being that consequential at all. It's like, well, what if they were? Like, what would make you care about how you're putting out your energy? And like, because I've been having such a deep, this is turning into quite the reflection here. I didn't think I'd be talking for this long. I also recorded a video for like 20 seconds, but it wasn't going well, so this is my take 2. I've been having a very strong calibration into the present moment to sharpen my ability to manifest things, to be able to do more for myself and jumpstart what I wish to be a transition into self-employment. That's my focus. That's one of the biggest things that I'm manifesting, evil eye. And I want to be able to be very, very understanding of what comes out of my mouth on a day-to-day basis. And like with anything else, like it's been changing the way that I even socialize because of how much people say things that they don't mean. I feel like it's like the stakes are too high in this precious energy, and like if your consciousness isn't awake to that type of like severity of the spoken word, then that's fine. That means that like that's not what it's supposed to be. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to, I acknowledge that my word creates my reality, and I want my word to be pure and good and feel good. And I can no longer just like say or do certain things that are empty or frivolous or supposed to be funny. But I'm having a really hard time with like social media and group dynamics for the reason of that, like, at people's expense humor. It's everywhere. It's funny when you start to notice it. It's like, I don't want to laugh at that. I don't find that funny. Or like just people being in these states of extreme where if we don't have a reality that perfectly jives with another person's reality, then we just fuck them and like cut them out of our lives. Like, I don't like that. That does not resonate with me anymore. Not that it did at one point. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it did at one point, but there was a time when I tolerated a ton of stuff that it feels like I'm just like firmly like, I can't do this. It's the way that I feel when I'm like, I wonder if I could fit everything I own, including this dog and this cat and this couch, into a little rucksack and venture off, across that mountain range, find a little patch of land and figure out how to cook dandelions. That sounds perfect. And take it from there. Like that's where I'm at. That's this feeling. It's this strange feeling because it's like everything of my earthly incarnation, much of which I've worked very hard for and love. I like being a person who has physical matter to play with. I think that's fun, as long as I don't put too much stake on the gratification of my ego being in this, like this created, manifested thing. Yes, we're allowed to enjoy it, but it's not, the point or all there is to it. It's like I'm waffling between like, it doesn't matter at all. I want 0 possessions, and the stakes are too high. Like this is too much stuff and all. So funny, growth pains that I'm airing out today, and I'm arriving at my homestead, and I'm tired, and I hope that everybody is just doing phenomenally. I was waving to my neighbor, so I missed a syllable in that word. It's interesting too. I think that this is a time of year when things really, really start to accelerate. Like seems like a lot of people are trying to get in touch with me and make plans with me and do things with me, and I feel like I can see into my future until like November. Like I need to block off all my weekends and take sacred space for myself and not make any plans. And my friend, I was talking to her today, and I was like, I can't do anything. I feel like I'm booked. And it's like, maybe I don't actually have that much going on, but I know that I need to make sure that, like I mentioned earlier in this video, I get the proper time. I get the proper time to be alone enough to be able to recalibrate as much as feels good for me, and like really recognize when the energy shifts. Like I was talking about, like you can be in the same place and have it feel completely different. I really want to be able to recognize every little shift so that I can do what needs to be done, basically. Right, Mutt? So beautiful. Look at him. Okay. Okay. Okay, bye.